Module 2, Attachment Styles and Relationship Dynamics. This module explores relational and relationship dynamics in a way that may help you understand what your own attachment style is, especially if you're someone who identifies as a survivor of sexual trauma, or what the connections are between attachment and relationships, adult, sexual, relational, romantic, and aromantic relationships. Okay, now think about the classic definition in your mind, an image, bring an image to mind of a wave. And just like think of yourself sitting on a beach and like imagine that a wave is coming at you and going away, coming at you and going away, right? Visualize like how high the tide is, visualize how low the tide is. Imagine this wave having a personification. If it were a person and if it were feeling some sort of feelings, what do you think a wave would feel? A little bit of up and down, back and forth, push and pull. That's classic anxious attachment in one way. It is a person who goes back and forth, who's like, yes, 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 I want this thing. No, no, no. The moment I get that thing, I feel bad. It's too much. Let's see. So it's a back and forth. It's a personality style. It's a relationship dynamic that goes back and forth. Let's think about the other end now. A wave crashing against a rock. I want you to bring the image of a rock to your mind. What does that feel like? If there are artists listening to this, or even if you don't consider yourself an artist, someone who likes to doodle, try drawing a rock. How solid does it feel? How like pioneering in a way, right? It's kind of in a distance. A rock is compared to a wave. A rock doesn't have back and forth. A rock is just a rock. It stays there. Now imagine the rock is an island, a bigger form of a rock, very, very far into the distance, right? What is that like? If an island or a rock were a person, what would they be like? I'm thinking about the classic stereotype of someone who is avoidant, who does not have a back and forth experience, but has a distanced experience, but is also very independent. They like to take care of themselves. They like to be dependent on themselves. They do not have a push and pull response to just like a rock. That is a classic avoidant attachment style on the other end. So I've painted for you a picture of what an anxious avoidant attachment style is and what an anxious attachment style is and what an avoidant attachment style is. And now let's visualize it coming closer, kind of to the center. A center is an anchor in this metaphor. It's an anchor. So imagine a ship and an anchor is dropping. For those of you who don't know what an anchor is, it's something that grounds the ship to the bottom of the ocean floor. So there's lots of turbulence, there's all sorts of violence happening in the sea at so many levels, and the anchor is just solid, standing there right in the center. An anchor is a representation of a securely attached person. It is not someone who's perfect, but it is someone who is so grounded within themselves that it takes a lot to completely shake them up. Once they decide something, they tend to consistently stick to that. They don't have a lot of back and forth. When somebody pursues them, they can respond. They don't tend to retreat too easily. But when they retreat, they do that intentionally. So this is called secure attachment. Now, I'm trying to connect this metaphor to the idea of sexual trauma. A lot of people who are traumatized very, very young especially as children, right? Especially if an uncle or an aunt or someone very close to us hurt us sexually, crossed our boundaries, touched us where we didn't like it, we are going to not have a chance to experience anchoring. Because we're going to feel a little dissociated from our body, a little bit like, oh my God, I feel a little removed from what just happened, because how could an uncle do that to me? I'm supposed to hug him, right? I'm supposed to love him. I'm supposed to like say hi to him at weddings. So how come that happened to me? And very, very early on, children get this idea that they're supposed to listen to their parents, because parents tell us, especially in our culture, to hug the uncle, even if we don't like it, to say hello, good morning, namaste, all of that. Even when the child is saying, for some reason, I don't like this uncle. So, superimpose this example on the metaphor I just gave you and try to identify where your attachment lies in sex. Are you more wave-like towards your partners? Are you more island-like? Are you more of an anchor? I know for me personally, I'm both. I'm also a wave and also an island. And it's taken me a long journey of my own trauma work to make myself closer and closer, a bit more like a securely attached person. But it's taken trauma healing, which is what this masterclass is about. So this particular metaphor is by Dr. Stan Tatkins, who talks a lot about relational therapy, a lot about these dynamics in a very holistic way. If you're interested, please go check out his book, Attached, and a lot more in that model. And then find your way back to yourself. Find a way to come back to grounding, and to be careful to not pathologize yourself and say, oh, something's wrong with me because I'm an anchor, because I'm an islander, because I'm a wave. Nothing is wrong with us. These are things that happen to us. And trauma, unlearning trauma, gives us an opportunity to understand how old that wound is. And then healing trauma helps us understand what the medicine to that wound is within our current circumstances. And this is always a non-linear experience. It goes, we take 5 steps forward, we take 4 steps back.